Welcome back to the Electrician Growth Podcast. This is the place where we bring on electrical entrepreneurs. We talk to them about their stories, their lessons, and how they've built their business. If you would like to apply to be a guest on the Electrician Growth Podcast, you can go to our website at theelectriciangrowthpodcast.com, fill out the application. We'll reach out if we think you'd be a good fit, and you may be on the show next. Now, guys, today we have Albert calling out of Toronto, Canada. Albert, how's it going?
Good, good. Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Perfect. So I think just kicking things off, please just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and how did you get into the electrician space?
So, my name is Elber. I am an immigrant. I came to Canada when I was 16 years old. I went to high school to learn English. And at the age of 18, I got into the electrical trade right after high school. And everything just unfolded for me to go into the trade. That was 2007 when I started it. And it was not something that I choose from the beginning. It just happened. I was trying to go into a different type of industry, like hospitality. But then it just I realized that it was not for me. So I just went back to school and I asked for help. They sent me to a scholarship, and I got into the electrical trade, thinking that it was like the easiest, the cleanest, like how people think, like the pretty boys from the construction, but it's not, right? So uh, it just led me to learn, see the industry, and start loving the industry in that sense, like seeing how things work. I remember like the first time that I wire lights, and I wire a switch and I turn it on. And that moment that I realized that I was able to wire something and then just turn it on, it was like just amazing. That feeling, and then it hooked me, and then it's like, this is for me.
Okay. So it sounds like you started your journey after high school, roughly around 2007. So when did you start your business? When did you go from, working for somebody else to working for yourself?
So that was in 2019.
Hmm.
After being in the industry, having my license as an electrician, getting my master's in Ontario, we have to have our master's in the electrical field. I was able to open my company, but again, it was not the first choice either.
Mm-hmm.
I got the master just to have it in my pocket, just in case I get the opportunity to work for a bigger company in management. I was able to lead some teams when I was working for other companies, and I just thought about it and then just have it. But then I had the opportunity to open my own company, and I jump on it.
So why did you want to open your own company? What inspired you to become your own boss?
Um, Multiple factors. I won't say that it was because I am brave or I wanted to be leading a team or all that. It was not a good time um, work wise. I was being laid off. We had our second baby. Well, it's not a baby by then now. But then we wanted to do some things personally. Like, for example, my wife wanted to start homeschooling. And one of the ways that I realized or I discovered personally that I had to do is to bring more money to the table to be able for my wife to stay home. So I go like, well, I hear that if you open your own company, you can make more money and then be able to do more things. So that's basically where the idea came from. I had no experience. I have no connections. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew about the idea, and then it's like, okay, let's do it. Let's try. Let's try this. I mean, um, I've been always having the mentality of not being scared to cross the room and ask for a name and have a handshake in that sense. So I'm like, okay, let's try this. I really didn't have any plan or any business plan. What they say, like, create your business plan and you're gonna be able to um uh forecast whatever you're gonna do and whatever you need and all that. No. So that's basically the initiation on how I jump into business.
I see. Because I talk to a lot of different entrepreneurs, and most people say, I've had this ambition since I was very little, or my parents ran multiple businesses and I knew it was something I wanted to do. It sounds like, it was just a hard time in life and you're like, I need to make more money. How can I make more money? And I was like, well, I can start a business. I can start making more money that way. And you kind of just took the first steps to go. It wasn't like this grandiose plan you had since you were younger, which is kind of cool. I like that. It's a different story. It's a little bit unique. So I guess because you didn't have a lot of preparation and, it's not something you were like thinking about for a long time, did you have a rude awakening when you started your business? Was there ever a point where you're like, okay, let's start this? And then you're kind of like, oh shit, this is a little bit different than I was expecting when I first started. Tell us about what it was like when you're first getting started and some of the challenges you faced.
So 100%. So one of the things that I first learned when I started it is that one thing is to be a good electrician and do good work and be reliable and be a good team player. Another thing is to run business, send invoices, create estimates, um, present yourself to people that don't know you and they could have other options, and being able to sell yourself. Because in reality, I learned that I have to sell myself for people to trust me from basically nowhere. Like, that was the biggest realization for me. And then eventually start um, running things like, scheduling meetings, job site visits, finalizing the work, having inspections, and all those things that I was not responsible for at the beginning. So I learned that I was starting a new apprenticeship, as electricians will say, like like we have an apprenticeship to become an electrician. I am still on my apprenticeship on my business. So it's been only what, like 6 years now. So I still don't have my master's on electrical business. So yeah.
Amazing.
Mhm.
So I guess give us a deeper look into the business. Is it just you who's working in it, or do you have multiple employees? You have a team working underneath you? Give us a bit of a insight on what your operation looks like.
So at this point, right now, it went back down just to me. I made so many mistakes through my learning process that have led me to go back down to just me on the tools. My wife is actually helping me in the administration part now, and she's been helping me to systemize things that as an electrician I was not able to see, like because when we are in the field we take for granted a lot of the things that we know by now, that we in my case I didn't explain, and that happened to me with hiring the apprentices that I had before, is that because I learn in a certain way, I used to think that everybody will think the same way, they will learn the same way. And that was one of my mistakes. My learning curves was that um, growing up, I grew up in a farmland, so most of the work was manual, like it was repetitive, like as we do in electrical. And in my head I will just learn how the process work and have ready the tools or the equipment or like whatever we need to get the job done. So that was common sense for me. So I will think, I used to think that everybody will think the same way, like having hire someone that said that they want to go into it, they will have the same mentality and then think ahead in that sense after they have done something multiple times. But no, but going back, yeah, like I had a team, I made mistakes. I had a lot of pride at the beginning, and that cost me a lot of money. In the sense that when we were not that busy, I still wanted to keep them in the team, even though I could sense that it was not a good fit, it was my pride that was holding me, saying, "Oh, what if I let off one guy or two guys? What the other three or the other two will say?" You know, um, they will say that I don't have enough work, and then they will want to leave, or I will be failing these two guys or this guy that I'm letting go, because I called him to work with me, and now I'm sending him home, right? So that pride, it was something that I have to face and look in the mirror and then say, you know what, I am not the Superman that I think I am. I make mistakes. I'm learning, and yeah. So facing that fear that I had, facing my pride, lead me down to, uh, just myself again, like at the beginning.
Wow, I love the self accountability. I feel like there's a lot of people who struggle in business because they're unable to learn the lessons by losing and they just blame everything else in front of them. It was like, oh, it's the employees, or it's the market, or it's the government, or it's the economy, or all these other stuff that's happening. But you're like, no, it's like, I made the mistake. I was too prideful. I could have led this team a completely different way. And that's why I am where I am now. And that is so essential as an entrepreneur to have, because if you blame everything outside of you, you're never going to be able to have control, right? So even if you fall down and you say, no, that was me, you realize what I did wrong and you're able to take another stab at it again, realizing what needs to actually happen.
It is painful and costly too, right? So so yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to the game of business, right?
Well,
But
I have a mentor now, and then every time I show up with a problem that I'm struggling, he goes and, at the end of the conversation, he said, "Well, you wanted to have a business, so."
yes, exactly. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? But we'll switch topics here a little bit. So what are you guys currently doing to generate jobs? Because I know you said at the beginning, it's like, oh, I didn't really understand that you had to really like put yourself out there. Like that was new to me when I started business. So, what are the things that you've been doing to get your name out there and bring jobs into your business?
So from the beginning, I wanted to create a, proper company. So I spent money on wrapping the vehicle that I that I acquire. Like I acquire a work van. We wrap it. We got uniforms. We create the logo. Um, Try to look very professional from the beginning. Um, and Just try to please everybody on the market, which was another mistake that I started doing, from the beginning, trying to do commercial work, residential work, um, automation work, and it's not that we cannot do it. Yes, like anybody that want to get into that field will be able to learn it and go ahead with it, but we were not specializing in something. So we were grabbing too much, but we couldn't squeeze anything because we were trying to do so much. So now, lately, after realizing all the mistakes that I was making, I decided just to focus on residential home service and, custom home automation and custom home electrical work, and that's basically where I'm focusing my energy. I am taking, marketing classes at night right now to be able to understand better, my, my exposure to the people that I want to work with, that I want them to hire me. So it is again, a process that I've been learning on how to specialize on what I am really good at, to be able to attract also the type of customers that I want by showing them who I am, and for them to identify with me or with us, with our culture that we are building, to to keep, increasing our market share in that part of the market.
Okay, sounds great. So, there's been a good conversation. There's been lots of value during this episode so far, but I'll wrap it up with one last question here. If you could go back to day one when you started the business back in 2019, what's one thing you would tell your younger self then?
The one question I will tell myself when I started is just be true to myself. Like, I have to understand that I am not good at everything, and that I need people to guide me on things that I don't know, and that I'm not good at.
Okay, perfect. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Before we hop off here, where can our listeners find you online? Do you have websites, social medias, etc.?
So yes, we have our social media on Instagram, madeelectric.ca with hashtag madeelectric.ca. We have our website, which is madeelectric.ca. And basically, that's basically how customers can get a hold of us.
Okay, amazing. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the Electrician Growth Podcast, you can head over to our website. I mentioned it on the beginning. You can also see the link in the description below this video. Apply through there. If we think you'd be a good fit, we'll reach out and you might be on the show next. All right, Albert. Thank you so much for
Thank,
taking the time.
thank you, Kevin.